let's do a quick note about why crypto dumped today. I think it is just a reaction to buy the rumor, sell the news. Remember, altcoins actually moved up a lot while Bitcoin didn't move at all last week. So basically, Bitcoin dominance went down from like 64 to about, I would say, what, like 59.6. Now it's back up above 61. So I think worst case scenario, we could go back up to 64, which means alts would lose about 15 to 20% more, while Bitcoin maybe drops to like 116, 115. But I don't think we'd lose more than 15 to 20% more than right now. So it's not like we're going to drop 80%, but that will actually get us to lose all the gains we actually made last week. Some of you might not like that, but remember, we essentially pumped up based on the crypto bill news. And yes, while some of those bills passed or are passing, they don't specifically pump up any of these coins. And of course, Bitcoin didn't get a huge boost of that. I think we went up from like 114, 115 to 120, which is why I say like we could go back down to 116, 115 while the alts retrace back another 15, 20%, because a lot of those alts did go up 30, 40%. And we've only retraced about 6, 7% on average. Some of the coins like XLM, XRP, Cardano, Hedera have actually retraced a little bit more, but they also did gain more during that time. So they can actually retrace, I think, a total, including today, of maybe about 25 to 30%. And that will bring them down to where they were before this run up. This is basically just like, hey, we rushed up a lot. There was really no reason to actually rush up. Bitcoin didn't actually go up. So there's not like any sustainable higher value. Now, they'll be slightly more higher, I think, because it was 115 to maybe like 117, 118. But unless Bitcoin goes up more, I don't see that much more room for alts to run. Alts ran in like a few days, after Bitcoin stabilized, but I think they ran up too much and now they're just retracing backwards. I do think there is an equilibrium of like 63, 64% Bitcoin dominance, and I do actually think where that's going. Now, is that the true bull run? No, that was not the true bull run. I think the true bull run is still way, way in the future in about 2-3 months in October, November when we get the ETFs. Because remember, these bills do not generate pumps for crypto. But the ETFs could possibly generate more bills for crypto, investment in crypto. We did get a Japanese trade deal today. Well, I mean, we got the framework for one. They're still working out the finer details, and that's really, really good. Even though the trade deal itself may not be that great for like American consumers, it's good for us crypto. What the deal was 15% reciprocal tariffs on both countries, which means that they're going to have 15% tariffs on our goods. We're going to have 15% tariffs on their goods. That's what reciprocal actually means. It also says that they don't really have any limitations on auto exports. So like American car manufacturers might actually feel more of the burn because of this, because they can now export unlimited amount of cars. I don't know if there was a limitation before, but there might have been like some kind of quota before, but now they can unlimited export on 15%. Do I think it's going to help like GM and Ford? No, I don't think it's actually going to help GM and Ford, the 15%, because I don't even think Americans want American cars. And yes, Americans can sell like cars to Japan now, but Japanese cities aren't made for like large American cars. If you look at like other European, Asian cities, the streets are quite narrow and they just don't fit like giant trucks. I do think they'll get some additional sales, but remember, they have a 15% tariff when entering Japan now as well. I think it was free trade before on most sectors. So I don't really think, I think that the reciprocal tariffs are kind of a wash. Japan has agreed to invest in American industry, but that's going to come over several years. So I do think it's good for crypto because it does provide us some certainty. And of course, I'm hoping that there's some kind of deal made with Canada, China, the EU, and Mexico. Canada seems quite unlikely by August 1st. China, I think, is going to get extended. I think the EU is looking less and less likely because the big players like Germany and France want to use the so-called trade bazooka, and they do control a lot of power in the commission. I do not think the EU is going to accept like a 20% tariff on imports without imposing any tariff on US imports. If it's 20% both ways, while that does de-escalate the situation, that doesn't really help the economy. It doesn't really help consumers because it will make things for us more expensive over the long run. And obviously it doesn't help our companies because now we have a 20% tariff on our exports as well. But the thing is, we need stability. We need things to actually calm down. And if that should happen, if things actually are stable and things actually calm down, I think the crypto market will get better. As for rate cuts, I'm leaning more and more towards like we're probably not going to get one until next May, because I do believe, just like we went up 0.3 for inflation last month, I think we're starting to see that inflation actually come through for the tariffs. I think it's going to go above 3 in the next 2 months, and I don't actually think Jerome Powell is going to cut rates. And you will have to wait until Jerome Powell retires. By the ways, I do not think he's getting fired, and I don't think he's resigning. You will have to wait until he steps down once his term is over, and that will happen next May. Trump will get his own guy in there, and then he will raise lower rates. He might not lower them as much as like Trump is saying right now. He's not going to lower by 3 percentage points at once, obviously, because, you know, if he does that, the economy is probably going to go into a spiral. And if that happens, Trump needs a scapegoat, and having his own guy up there instead of Jerome Powell is not nearly as good of a scapegoat, because like his own guy is basically just going to do whatever he wants him to do. So he does actually have to be very, very careful of that. So that's, I think, why he's pushing Powell to cut rates so much. But he has actually backed off in firing Powell. He says like, well, he's going to be out soon anyways. But that's still another 10 months before Powell is officially out. And that means like, yeah, we could get a bull run in 2026, but that does mean we are likely to retrace in the immediate future. I'm still hoping the ETFs can bolster us up. I'm hoping that we get a rate cut in September. But if the inflation goes up, if the unemployment stays stable, which I do actually think the unemployment is going to stay stable, Powell is most likely not going to cut any. And since Powell is most likely not going to cut any, I don't see a gigantic crypto bull run. By the way, for those of you that are wondering what the median inflation rate, interest rate is since 1973, since Bretton Woods was signed, it is actually like 4 or 5%. From 1973 to about 2008, the interest rate was significantly above 5 on average, and then like from 08 onwards, obviously it's been lower than 5, because from like essentially 08 to like 16 or 17, it was basically 0. So if you take the early 80s out and you take the 2010s out, basically we get an average about 5 or 6%. So we are actually at like not only the average rate, but also the median rate. I think people just got really used to the last 15 years and like rates being really, really low, at least throughout the 2010s until 2018, 2019. People got used to rates being super, super low. So they think the median rate is really, really low. The historical median rate is actually not that low. It's kind of like where we are right now. It's actually a little bit above where we are right now. But since people got really used to easy money, they really want the easy money back. And Trump is pushing for it. He wants 3% interest rate cuts. And that would put our interest rate around 1%. I think it eventually needs to be about 2.5. But, you know, like I'm basically saying that because a lot of other people are saying that. Powell logically actually doesn't have too much reason to actually cut interest rates at all right now. The economy is okay. The market's at record highs. Inflation is still significantly above 2%, which is his goal. And unemployment is still very, very low at around 4.2, 4.3. So based on those statistics, there's actually no reason for him to actually cut. I understand that a lot of you watching this channel are like, he should cut so my bags can moon. But here's the thing. That's not Jerome Powell's job. Jerome Powell could care less if your crypto bags moons or not. That's not his job. His job is a dual mandate of both unemployment and inflation. And with the inflation still around 2.7, which could be going back up to 3, and unemployment still in the low 4s. Overall, things are actually doing very well, and logically, he should actually maintain the same course as he is now. Because while maybe 2 years ago, our interest rate was above the median interest rate, right now it's actually probably about where the median interest rate is since 1973 and since we got off the gold standard. So he's probably looking at that historical context as well. And it's looking less and less likely that he's going to cut while his term is in, unless inflation really, really drops to about 2% and unemployment rises to like 4.5, maybe 4.4, 4.5. But that does not look to happen. That does not look like it's happening come September. And although some of the Fed people are saying that, like, we should actually cut, the Fed in itself is supposed to be like a reactive organization. They're supposed to react to what the economy is doing, not really be proactive and try to steer the economy for the most part. And that's what they've been doing for a long time. So reacting to the data right now, he actually should hold steady. I also don't think a 0.25 percentage cut would actually matter too much. I think it's like more of a sentiment thing and that the Fed is actually pivoting. But overall, like, I don't think it would actually affect investments too much. You would have to cut like 1 or 2%, and I don't think Powell has any chance of actually doing that before he leaves. Like, the overall Fed plan is to cut to about 2.5 by like 2027 or 2028, but that's still a very, very long time off, and I don't think people want to wait for that. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe, hit that bell notifications button. Thank you, and have a nice day.